I don't feel like I'm gonna have to excuse my stomach. This school on Sunday, the 11th of December 2022. Drove up to the driving lesson and it was fine, better than last time. Well, that's just because last time it was like memorial service. So, yeah. But for the actual lesson itself, despite the fact that it was very sunny and also there was a lot of ice in the road, it went fine except for two stalls. And also the fact that there was a woman who I guess wasn't looking where she was going because she was on the oncoming lane. Oh, and there's also a bit where when I was driving up where I didn't even notice a red light until it was almost too late. Like I was able to stop in time, but it was very rough. Yeah. Anyway, the patient. Universally positive ratings. FX on Hulu original series. Watch it on Disney Plus. Steve Carell, Domhnall Gleeson. It's all right. See how they run. Mixed ratings. Watch it on Disney Plus. Sam Rockwell, Saoirse Ronan, Adrian Brody. Reese Shearsmith. A couple other people there that sound familiar, but I don't know for sure. It's good. Amsterdam, mixed rating. Actually, universally negative ratings. Watch it on Disney Plus. Oh god. Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Christian Bale, Anya Taylor-Joy, Taylor Swift, Rami Malek, Robert De Niro, Mike Myers, Zoe Saldana, Timothy Olyphant, Michael Shannon, Chris Rock. It's good. Watch all these my granny. She didn't like a single one. But I mean, when it comes to Amsterdam, like the way I see it, the worst thing you could say about the film is it's and that's it. Like there was absolutely nothing wrong with the film. It's a bad film. That's what's wrong with it. I think is what she said because boomers, am I right? With their fucking secular logic. As for CIA, the run, she fell asleep for most of it, so that's why she didn't like it. For the patient, I had already seen over half the episode last night, so she only saw it like the last 7 minutes. I'm sorry I can't clear my throat. It might not seem as bad as it is in the recording now, no, but it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I just can't clear it because if I try, yeah, I'll get the hiccups. Also, that's the plan from now on. I'm gonna watch films on Disney at my granny's since I'm out of Arrowverse shows until The Flash and Superman and Lois come back. I have Batwoman, but I have that recorded at home and I'll just watch it here. Anyway, this Twitter as of 6:30 p.m. England finished the same way as they started, on their knees. England end the game as they started, on their knees. Southgate out now. Year ago, Twitter shut down the trial tracker account that documented Maxwell's trial. Why? Elon should dig into this. Wait, there's a Fred. UK. You can't get a GP appointment. 7 million are stuck on waiting lists. Cancer levels are at an all-time high. But don't worry, the NHS are fully focused on net zero and are hiring managers to follow the WES agenda using your national insurance tax. It makes me feel a whole lot better to know that the operation I'll be waiting for years will be sustainable. In a nutshell, I present to you the Chief Sustainability Officer for the NHS.
First off, our job is to primum non nocere, first do no harm. That's the background, right? This is core to everything the NHS does. What really helps is that every year when we go out and we ask our staff, hey, what do you care about? They shout back at us. Overwhelming, thunderous. 9 out of 10 staff across the NHS want to see us tackle climate change more and more, further and faster. And so that's one of the things we find easy. We're the 5th largest workforce in the entire world, 1.3 million staff, and never once, ever once, do I get asked, are you sure? Should we really? Is this really our core business? Always. Everyone is always saying, can we go further? Can we go faster? Come on, let's go. The world is on fire. First off, our job is to...
Elderly people freezing to death because they can't afford to pay the heating bill. NHS busy tackling climate change. More arguments. Oh God, let me get comfortable. Okay. While show Twitter activists and police without basis suppressed and censored the President of the United States Sundays for the 2020 election, this is damning evidence of election interference. Unequivocally true, the evidence is clear and voluminous. It's time for Senate hearings into what scheme Elon is up to, what terrorist or foreign influence is involved, and what can be done to remove this public medium from his malign control. Okay, of course, let's leave it to Keith Olbermann to come up with the batshit crazy conspiracy theories that Elon Musk is collaborating with terrorists because he's making the truth about what was happening on Twitter over the past however many years public. Keith Olbermann hates democracy, to the surprise of no one. Don't you too, Marcus? Hot posting and all that? Not saying I disagree. I just like pointing out the hypocrisy in those who claim to love it. At that age where I have mixed feelings about the first snow, where it's beautiful, but I also know it's going to make travelling anywhere a nightmare. Every single year, the government shits the bed and fucks up clearing the roads like they weren't expecting snow and didn't prepare for it. My brother in Christ, this is Scotland. A lot of snow in Scotland? Every single year, the government shits the bed. You could have left it right there, Mark. You are absolutely correct. How do you know they were hackers if you were offline when all your doors and everything else is intact, but they blew up the walls and the shortest path to the lit room? How did they know where it was? Well, depending on the base design, it's pretty obvious for normal experienced players to know where the lit rooms are. But if you use like 4 different rooms and 3 are empty and not blown, but the full one got raided, it's ESP hacks. It was a massive maze of a base with tons of rooms indoors. Biggest rooms were 1x2, but the walls broken were the fastest and most direct path to the lit room. It's sus. Really, Mark? Hey Mark, this is off topic, but I have a genuine question. What's the ideal government system you want implemented? Speaking in terms of democratic republic, and whatnot. None. Monarchy is the natural state for most Europeans. Clans for Scotland. United Celtic States. What parts of Iberia are considered Celtic? Fascinating who would have thought a meme would educate me. Also, I'd like how in this imaginary unification of states, Northern Ireland still has borders superimposed on the map. It was one of the first parts they settled. They traded salt in and out of the Mediterranean. I can't speak because of my throat. Hugging the coast, if you look at the above map, you can pretty much see the path they took, settling as they went. The Anglos seem a little upset. Oh. Galakia is Celtic? Oh wait, fucking replying. Didn't know that. Why doesn't the Celtic Union get cores in their RT56? Galakia equals Gaels equals Gauls equals Gaelic equals Gaelic. Sorry, Gaelic equals Gaelic, I guess. I don't know. Even in England, about 64% of people are descended from these Celts, outnumbering the descendant of Anglo-Saxons by about 3 to 1. The proportion of Celts is only slightly higher in Scotland at 73%, Wales, the most Celtic part of mainland Britain, with 83%. Fucking send this to Carl. Look at what they need to mimic a fraction of our power. Listen here, you little shit. Here come the arguments, I guess. So all the warlords and roving gangs rolling over the populace have to disagree with you there. You mean what we literally have now? It's not even remotely true. Our governments go to war, constantly dragging us along with them without our consent. We have rampant crime and criminal gangs on our streets. Plus, we get extorted for our earnings, and police can just willy-nilly shoot and beat you with zero repercussions. It's very true. Yes, governments do corrupt and illegal acts, that's a given. However, there are checks and balances that people have to make those politicians accountable for their actions. Anarchy means people have zero rights and beholden the gangs with no peaceful options other than violence. Well, checks and balances. Who was held responsible for Afghanistan and Iraq? Who was held responsible for the 2008 crash? Who was held responsible for inflation? Waco? Ronnie Ridge? Fucking no one. You vote those politicians out that intact those legislations and get new ones, introduce new policies to prevent or use criminal charges to dissuade future situations from happening again. Yeah, but the people you put in instead always end up doing something just as bad, if not worse. Like, oh, we need to get rid of, Boris is a bad man because, whatever, for me, it's cost of living crisis, for the, now I have the hiccups. For the libtards, it's something else, I don't know. We need to get him out. We got Liz Truss now, who in only 6 weeks as PM fucked the economy. Now she's out now with Rishi Sunak, who admittedly has done nothing so far, but if he gets what he wants, I'll be labelled as a terrorist. We've been doing that for over a century now, and what you propose still has not happened. In fact, governments have gotten exponentially worse. Your system does not work. It takes time to enact such changes. There are times where governments get better than worse, and vice versa. I've yet seen a prosperous ANCAP society. Like, it's easy to point out the flaws in this system, but very difficult to come up with a better system. Communism at least got to make attempts. ANCAPs never have. Communism has failed examples you can point to. ANCAP doesn't. This is what we've been raised to believe, but the checks and balances stopped working long ago. It can be done. No one had said it would be easier without hardship. You could say the same about what I'm proposing, but I propose a system that can be reformed and actually works. Yours is a system that is guaranteed to fail just as such with communism, except your system doesn't work. In your other reply, you propose changes that you allege are achievable under your system, yet in over 100 years they have not been achieved. So when will your system start working? Another 100 years? 200? It has worked to different results, some positive, some negative. The system isn't going to make life a utopian society. We don't want a utopia. Says human progression is not a straight line, but ebb and flows. It's a system that overall it's the best out of worst options. Even though in 100 years it's got worse and is doing the opposite of what it was intended for, don't make me say the Einstein quote. Apparently it's not even Einstein that said it. Progression has been made that minimized and stripped by government overreach in recent years. It's not perfect and it's slow but happening. Now, explain how an ANCAP system would be better in having freedom and safety for those citizens without corporations just abusing them. There are currently 10 times more laws in place. We have fallen further in the freedom index. Social coercion is worse. Inflation is nuclear. Home ownership is almost impossible due to government regulation. My guy, I could go on for days. Democracy is making everything worse. Well, I prefer if we had a constitutional republic, which has worked pretty well. I do agree that democracy hasn't worked well. However, ANCAP is a system that people won't want for obvious reasons. By just looking at our current political climate, shame, since it would fix it. OMG, corporations would own the rain and Bezos will roll me over with tanks. Yeah, a corporation that massively infringes on private property and society that's literally based on that. Watch how long they last, especially since they can't forcibly tax to fund the war machine. Even if a company saw a benefit to engage in warfare, they'd only do it if it was profitable, and lots of times the best way for profit is merely free trade. If a company is engaging welfare in ANCAP society, then at that point it ceases to be ANCAP and is just the government. The difference between a corp and a government war is refusal of trade, which absolutely would happen. It instantly shuts the core down. No money, no war. Governments, however, have conditioned you to allow them to tax you by force so they can fund their wars for as long as they want. And yours is a total collapse of society everywhere, devolving to single family units struggling to even find food. See how much time you have for comedy when you're starving because you don't know how to raise crops or animals. In a non-cap society, all food production everywhere would shut down because companies would suddenly hate money or something, I don't know. God damn, you could fry an egg on that take. But who controls the police? Who controls the military? Who controls courts? At the base level, private companies, then it would be the owners of whatever private properties they have been contracted to work on according to the rules set by whatever the owner dictates. Great, so we'll just have country-sized mega corporations instead of corrupt governments. That actually wouldn't happen. Even the cores know this. They literally need the government to grow large. When there is no one to check their power, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they just claim land and make people work for them? Because they literally can't force anyone to do anything. If they did, they wouldn't last a week since no one would trade with them. Why would you give money to something that is a threat to you? And to check their power, it would be other core. I don't know if I agree with that because, I mean, everyone knows that Apple is using like sweatshops and all that, child labor, where they work for it one day and that one day is just enough to push them over the limit and just kill themselves as children. And yet, Apple is still worth billions. He's right, it's actually very rare for a company to grow so massive and stay as the only player on the block for large periods of time without some government regulation or favoritism that give them the leg up. Fair. Core make a lot of cash free government contracts subsidiaries, but considering the fact that all of this is just really can't really die, something like that couldn't happen when all core become ultra competitive. Why couldn't one hegemony over the others? Sorry, why couldn't one win hegemony over the others? If that was the case, then every single corporation would be dumping every penny they had into every libertarian party so they could get that power, but they aren't because they did their research and know it wouldn't happen. In fact, it would be almost impossible to stay large. So I'm cracking my thumbs. That's effectively a government, but a name change. Nope. Since everything is done by consent, and I can fire those companies and choose new ones anytime I wish. God, we're still on 23 hours. Governments force you into it and will use force if you refuse, but a corporation will have armed force, just like a government, to enforce certain agreements, and at that point, they would form a government, but to a lesser extent. Minarchism. Difference is, even if they did that, they would be stopped immediately once everyone refuses to trade with them. Okay, so I thought someone was coming up. It would be suicide for the core, and shareholders would never support it. It's literally voting with your wallet, just to a far greater effect. But here, the shareholders exactly in this ANCAP society, the exact same people who are shareholders now, any random who bought shares in the company. But if democracy is the problem, and shareholders are essentially the voters in the ANCAP system, that would inevitably lead to the same problems now. So why not just do a new net taxpayer system?